Someone is attempting to use the time controller.
That is to be expected. Are you attempting to locate them?
We're trying now. If we catch them, what would you like us to do with them?
Whoever is attempting to operate the time machine is an enemy of the Daleks. All enemies of the Daleks must be exterminated. Exterminate them. 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 Exterminate them.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Day of the Daleks. And today I'll be reviewing both the original and special edition versions of the story that are available on the DVD. So let's get started. This story features the return of the Daleks for the first time since 1967. So it's been a 4.5 year wait since July 67 to January 72. So you can tell why some people are saying it's a 5-year gap. Officially it's 4.5, but it's, yeah, right, it makes sense for them to say 5. It's also the first episode of this story broadcast on the 1st of January 1972. So as I mentioned at the end of my review of the Daemons, it's basically Resolution but 47 years earlier. And only half as long per episode, or overall twice as long. Or near, well, sort of. And it's not the first New Year's Day story. That was the 8th episode of Dalek's Master Plan, Volcano. And that was a Dalek one. We'd also have The Face of Evil on the 1st of January as well, and also part 1 of that story, and also The End of Time part 2. So, yeah, and one episode of Sarah Jane, The Invasion of the Bane, and the last 2 episodes of Torchwood Series 1. I think the 12th episode was broadcast then because they skipped Christmas. And then they just had the last 2 episodes broadcast then. A bit like with Robin Hood Series 2 in 2008. They had the last 2 episodes broadcast back to back on a weekend, on a Saturday, because the Saturday before they skipped because an episode of Oliver was being shown. Oliver Twist, I should say, was being shown. Okay. So, enough about New Year's Day stuff and enough about other BBC drama productions. Day of the Daleks. The story basically sees guerrillas from the 22nd century attempt to assassinate a man called Sir... it's not in here, but a man called Sir Reginald Styles. And they believe he is responsible for causing the deaths of several delegates, world delegates, that it eventually leads to wars between many countries, and 7/8 of the world's population is, well, basically killed, and the Daleks eventually see their chance and take over and invade, and by the 22nd century, everything is shit, basically. Although some lines are okay for some people, most of them are basically the life of a dog, as the Doctor describes it. So the guerrillas want to go back in time and change all of that, and prevent Styles from causing the wars. And prevent the Dalek invasion of the 22nd century. Again! Yeah, a second Dalek invasion of the 22nd century. So this is if the Dalek invasion of Earth would not need to have happened in this continuity, in this alternative universe. Because the Daleks in this invasion in this story basically exists. But soon the Doctor realises that it's the guerrillas who caused the explosion that blows up the house and kills all the delegates. that it's them who causes it, and they're trapped in a temporal paradox. Temporal loop, where they become part of history and they cause all the problems. So, yeah, eventually they do convince the guy who does blow up the house that it's not Star Wars, and the Daleks attempts to invade to make sure their version of history stays the same. So the guy blows up the house with the Daleks inside and changes history and makes sure everything is not shit, at least until the Daleks properly invade in the 22nd century in the Daleks' invasion of Earth. But that's back in that story. And yeah, that's basically the overall plot, as well as also we get... that's basically the gist of it, but we also see a bit the other guerrilla attacks just beforehand, and we see events happening in the 22nd century, how it is, and how it is for the Controller and his people. And the Controller, I think he's a great character, considering he's a villainish, sort of, kind of. I mean, he's a middle ground character. He's nice, but he's working for the Daleks. He eventually helps the Doctor and Joe survive, but originally it was for his own end, but then eventually saw the Doctor's reasoning and thought there'd be a way to destroy the Daleks. So the Controller's actually a pretty good character, all things considered. He's a bit of a tragic case, as he's trapped in this universe where he has to work for the Daleks or he dies, and eventually he wants to help other people, but he's struggling to do so because of his masters. Eventually he's able to help save the day, and he does lose his life for it, but it's alright. History's changed at the end, so he probably doesn't even exist in the first place. Or at least not that way. There's also, I want to mention, this other guard character we see in parts 3 and 4. He is basically the Bennick of this story, except not as nice. Well, Bennick wasn't very nice either, but he was fun to watch. This guy, it's not as fun to watch, but he is still delicious when he is on screen. I don't know what it is. I mean, I grit my teeth at when he's beating up the Doctor, but because of the way because I thought they would have known that the Doctor was the Doctor, not a spy, but oh well. Maybe the Controller just didn't get the message over to them on time. But other times, he is delicious. The way he speaks, even if he's annoying, being a big prick, he's still fun to watch in some cases. I don't know, it's a very mixed bag with that character. I feel I get mixed signals. Damn it, man, are you a fucker or are you fun to watch? Make your bloody mind up. Well, that's not really the character, that's just my interpretation of the guy. Damn it, are you someone who I want to watch more of, or someone I do not want to watch any more of? Also, it's fun to see the unit people doing their stuff, mainly in the first 2 episodes and the third one. They don't get much to do in the third episode, because it's mostly 22nd century centred. And then again, the first one is mostly 20th century, and it's very equal out for the second and fourth ones. But on the whole, it's still they do really good jobs, and it's fun to see them in their roles continuing. And the Brigadier gets a couple of great stuff. He even gets to shout at Sir Reginald Styles when he's starting to be a prick. He's starting to learn from the Doctor. He's taking no nonsense from anybody, even politicians and grumpy scientists. So that's cool. And speaking of the Doctor, Jon Pertwee, once again, great performance. I honestly think Pertwee's probably the best actor at this point. As much as I love Patrick Troughton and I love his Doctor, I think Pertwee is probably the best Doctor at this point. And yeah, even Hartnell, I think by this point, Hartnell had gotten the groove of the Doctor, but Pertwee is just the Doctor. I don't know how possible. I know lots of people would say Tom Baker is the Doctor, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But at the moment, for the first 3, Jon Pertwee is the Doctor, and it just works so well. And Katie Manning's also improved as Jo for this story, and I do buy her screaming more. They're screaming to attract the attention of the guards, and eventually starting to wear out over it. Like she's not putting too much effort into it towards the end. I still believe it more than when Victoria screams at stuff to distract people or to stop a monster. So yeah, there's also this fun bit where apparitions of them reappearing early on when the Doctor's tinkering with the TARDIS. I think the next time we'll see the TARDIS will be the next story where he will be taking it for a test run. And I think this is the last time the TARDIS is going to be out of the console room for repairs. We saw it in Ambassadors and Inferno. And then it goes back in the TARDIS for console room for Claws of Baxos, and then it comes out again for this story, and then it goes back in for Curse of Paladin. And it was in the console room for Colony, but we don't talk about that story. And yeah, so it's all, on the whole, really good. If there was any nitpicks I had to say, and this is for the original edition, by the way, is the Dalek voices suck. In the original edition, the Dalek voices suck so much. They are disgraceful. It sounds like Davros with a if Davros was trying a Dalek voice modulator, but he couldn't quite get the handle of it like a fully muted Khalid would. It always sounds like they've got this kind of in their voice every single time. And that sure is. It just reminded me of Davros. Thankfully, Michael Wisher would be Davros. In fact, he's going to be the voices of the Daleks from the next time we see them onwards. For parts of Frontier, Planet, and Death, and maybe a bit of Genesis. I know Roy Skelton's definitely coming back for Genesis of the Daleks, so that's cool. Maybe Wisher is maybe because he's basically on Davros duty, but he might have done some of the Genesis Dalek voices. So yeah, Michael Wisher will take over next time, but I'm not sure why they didn't just hire him right here, right now. And where's Roy Skelton and Peter Hawkins, by the way? I thought they would have been good choices to do the Daleks here. No? What about David Graham? No? Yeah, it's weird. They don't hire any of the previous Dalek voices, and they've got 2 other guys to do it, and they suck. Sorry. However, now we come to the special edition, which includes brand new visual effects that replaces some of the others. It has some scenes are extended to feature some of these new effects, and some scenes are sadly cut to feature some of these new effects, such as parts of the scenes with the Ogrons, for example, in part 1, where they talk to the controller, and they sadly cut a line that I really love. No complications. Just love the way that Ogron says no complications. It's just so funny and so good. But they cut it. You could have made the story longer. You could have made it it's 1 hour 36. You could have kept those bits in, and it just would have been a few minutes long, a minute or 2 longer, guys. So you didn't have to cut some stuff just to have extra stuff in. I would have liked to have kept that line in at least. That was so good. But yeah, it's got some great new visual effects. They look stunning, especially during the fight scene at the end of part 2 and in part 4's epic finale. I say epic. It wasn't so cool in the original edition, but the new version, it looks much better. And got some really cool stuff. Got some more dystopian future looking of the Dalek of the Earth in the future. Of course, most of the times we cut back to that place, we have to see the dystopian future. It's background on this over here, at least in the back of this bit. This dystopian buildings, and the travelling through time tunnel is a little bit better, and they don't just, in the original edition, it just looked like they were holding hands out wide and spinning, apart from the Doctor, who was just doing doctory stuff. He's just like, In the special edition, it actually looks more like they're falling through it, rather than spinning round Patrick Troughton Regeneration style, except he didn't hold out his hands until he started falling down that tunnel. But so I'm not sure what that was with both of those examples. But it works better on the special edition, and got some more great Dalek voices, and they've managed to improve some of the other stuff, like the screen to controller voice talks over to talk to the Daleks, and it just looks really great and got some great new stuff. But the best thing about the special edition is the fact that the Dalek voices were changed. They realised that these voices were sucked so bad that they needed them to be changed. They needed to be voiced by an expert, someone who's been voicing the Daleks for, at this point, at least 12 years, and at this point, at least 20 now, at time of recording, both in the official show and in BBC licensed audios from a certain big company who makes hundreds of them. That's right, it's the god of all Dalek voices, Nicholas Briggs. Oh god, and he's a voice for sore ears, basically. He basically raises the story even higher, and this is including the special edition's newer visual effects and new scenes and all that. It just makes everything so better. If it was just the Dalek voices, that would have been good enough for us. Just the Dalek voices replacing, but thank fuck that they got a new voice actor in for the Dalek voices. And thank the Lord that it was Nick Briggs, because he is so amazing. And I've got an itch again. I already praised Nick Briggs' voice of the Daleks in my... I don't know if I did in my resolution review, but I definitely tweeted about it. And Nick Briggs even responded with a tweet saying, "Thanks, Nick." So that was cool. I got a response from Nick Briggs. Who knows? Perhaps I'll get a job at Big Finish. Haven't even got a job yet. Someone hire me, please. So yeah, Nick Briggs' voices, he basically improves the Daleks as a whole overall, and we get some more Daleks using the CGI effect, and it just looks really cool and just really great. So on the whole, the special edition is amazing. Yeah, so that's about it. Day of the Daleks. I thought this was a great story. I thought it was really good, really fun, really entertaining. It's got quite a few of issues, but the special edition manages to iron out most of those issues, mostly production-wise issues. Story-wise issues, not so much, and actually creates a few more instead by cutting some bits out. Most of them are insignificant, I should say, but I do miss the fact that they cut out that no complications line. That's a shame. So, but overall, Day of the Daleks rocks. So I'm going to give Day of the Daleks, both versions, a 9 out of 10. I probably would have given the special edition a 10 out of 10 had they not cut anything. If they just left it, if they just had the entire story but they threw in some extra seconds and stuff, they just have some of the CGI stuff replaces some of the stuff. But if there was stuff that was cut that didn't need, but like that no complications line and that, and half of that scene, to be honest, just don't, just not worry about cutting stuff out. Just leave it as it is, unless you're going to put a CGI thing over it or some sort of special edition version. But otherwise, you're just cutting it down to time and fit the time. You could do a Curse of Fenric and Battlefield and just let it be an extended edition. Basically, in some cases, you could even have made it into a movie like those two or Shada. But okay, doesn't matter. But at least they didn't cut down the story into an omnibus edition like they did with Enlightenment and Plans of Fire. And Five Doctors, that was another extended edition. So, yeah. No, so, you could have done an extended edition of the story, heck, maybe even a movie version. But, yeah, and that brings me another thing, the cliffhangers. Not so necessarily the cliffhangers themselves, it's parts 2 and 3 opening with the cliffhanger being reprised. And they open with the sting, and this is something the special edition does not fix. They open with the sting from the themes. It goes, "Ow!" I'm not that great with the... I'm good with the theme, but not that bit. But basically the music at the end of the cliffhangers, it's done again at the start of part 1, and part 2 and part 3. during the scene, not the theme music. You get the recap, and then you get part of that theme, and then it goes in to the next bit. It doesn't happen in part 4, though, thank goodness. But what happens at the end of part 3 instead is that John Pertwee's credit is over the clip, the last shot, and then the titles come up around that for some reason. So yeah, I think the editor of this story, the original version, I didn't think he did that great of a job, at least when it comes to little stuff like that. And I think we do go back and forth between some people quite a bit in some cases. The special edition tries its best to kind of remedy this, but even it doesn't seem to be able to fix some problems. If they've been able to take out some of the audio tracks, maybe they could have taken out some of that music track from the starts of parts 2 and part 3, and with part 3's ending, they could have just cut the shot before the title appeared, and then cut it back whilst it was in the titles, and just have the Dalek voices keep going exterminate over the start. So that would have worked. But on the whole, still a really great story. But like I said, if the special edition had kept the whole thing in, just don't cut anything out, just leave it as it is. The only things you take out are the stuff that you're replacing with the new effects and scenes in. Otherwise, just leave them where they are. Then, otherwise, it would have been a 10 out of 10. But as it is, I think it's still a 9 out of 10, but I would say it's a higher 9 than the original edition, which I still find is a fun story, but some production value problems do let it down in quite a few places, especially with the Daleks on screen. This is supposed to be the Daleks' grand return for New Year's Day 1972, and they sounded like that. Fuck me. Just a good job that they're going to sound pretty different next time round we hear them. But thankfully, the special edition brings Nicholas Briggs in to replace the voices, and so Dalek heaven, basically. Yep. So thank you for watching my review of Day of the Daleks. That's it from me. And next time we'll be looking at The Curse of Peladon, which is basically if Doctor Who did the UK entering the European Union in space. Yes, because the Galactic Federation is basically supposed to be an allegory for the European Union, and so this is the story of Earth joining the Galactic Federation, which is similar to the UK joining the European Union. Ironically, we're reviewing it in the year that we're supposed to be leaving the EU. In fact, had things gone according to plan, but then again, when do they ever? We would have already have left by this point, but they won't. But we haven't. So the original date was March 29th. I'm recording this on April 2nd. The review will go out later. The new date is May 22nd, which would have been one of my cousin's birthday, if he was still alive, sadly, R.I.P. And the day after my birthday, my cousin would have been 30. I will be 20. So, yay! Happy 20th birthday present for me. I think even going earlier might have been better. What can I say? What can I physically say? It doesn't. They won't even leaving the EU won't stop Article 13 going into effect in the UK, because apparently the government supports Article 13 as it is, as opposed to with changes. So yeah, so even that saying, oh, at least we won't have Article 13. Even we can't even use that as an argument anymore. If apparently if this is true, but I expect it is. So fuck us. Oh well, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, next time, The Curse of Peladon. I'll see you guys then. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. you can come in 5 minutes. I thought there was a problem. So that's Christies. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching my review of Day of the Daleks. Next time we'll be looking at the Brexit alternative. Sorry, that's not right. Brexit top. Actually, it should be facing this way. Because it will look silly. But that's what it is. Someone is attempting to use the time machine control thingy-majig. I'm sorry. That's Day of the Daleks.
That is to be expected. Start again. That is to be expected. Are you attempting to locate... Fuck.